Hello everyone and welcome to another happy healthy vlog. Today I want to talk about something that came up in the last week for me with some clients and also with friends and family. It's something that comes up a lot. It also comes up for me, and this is, why does doing nothing sometimes feel so difficult? Why does rest sometimes feel like, oh no, I can't do that. I have to keep going? Or why does rest, the complete opposite, feel like, okay, I'm resting, but I have to also be doing something else at the same time? Whether it be scrolling, whether it be always having noise in the background. What is going on with this? And this is a little bit of a complex one, but I want to break it down into some really simple terms and understand how we might be able to move out of this, so that we are able to rest, so that we are able to put energy back into ourselves. Because quite frankly, constantly scanning the world for danger is exhausting. Constantly being in alert mode is exhausting. So let's explore why this might happen. Well, the nervous system is a wonderful thing. And it is always, and I really want to emphasize this, your nervous system is constantly trying to keep you safe. Whatever it does, it is always trying to basically keep us alive, right? I mean, that's pretty sweet. But things can get a little bit sort of messed if we've been living in a particular state for a long time. So for example, if you have been in what I would describe as go mode, or alert mode, or hypervigilance. You have been living in this sort of chronically stressed state for a long time. It means that that nervous system is always in that state of scanning for danger. And that is tiring, as I just mentioned. But what this can then mean, your nervous system gets used to being in that state. So as soon as you start to slow down, it feels like a threat. I had a client once who had sadly had trauma in their past. And so for them, their nervous system had adapted in a way to help them basically stay safe. But the nervous system had adapted in a way that meant that if anything changed that nervous system state, so as an example, we were doing breath work, as soon as this person began to slow their breath down, it began to shift the nervous system towards a state of calm. That individual suddenly felt like there was a danger. And that's because that nervous system had been trying to protect them for so long that any little change would trigger a response. Now, I actually think that is a really beautiful thing, but obviously me and that client had to work through, okay, how do we kind of guide you out of this a little bit and get that nervous system feeling safe in various states? But a reminder, being in this hypervigilant state isn't just to do with trauma. It's to do with being in a society that profits off our busyness, in a world that really struggles to slow down. I mean, everything moves so fast now, right? Potentially living in an environment that isn't the most relaxed, or being expected to be a certain way. You know, all kinds of societal, family, all sorts of different pressures that we can experience, or going through unpleasant things and lots of things sort of spiraling. Chronic stress of any kind will potentially take us into this state. And then we all have that thing where we go, oh, I should probably do that thing that I know looks after me. I should probably get a little bit of extra sleep. And we don't, and then we just get stuck in this cycle. But let's go to the other end of the scale now. What about laziness? I bet there are some of you watching this who have been called lazy in the past. And you actually think, but I don't understand. Or you now believe that you're lazy because you don't really think, well, okay, I want to do that thing, but I don't have the motivation to do it. Or actually, I'm just going to sit and I'm going to scroll. What is this laziness? What is this laziness about? This other end of the scale, if we're thinking hypervigilance and let's say lazy, but I don't like that word, yeah. We are talking, instead of lazy, freeze. Now, this all comes from the polyvagal theory, and I'll put a link below so that if any of you are interested, you can read about it. I also have an amazing book that I can recommend by Stephen Porges and his brother Seth Porges, which really explains it in the most simple way. But a freeze state is where your nervous system basically goes, okay, I need to slow you because we need to save energy. We need to conserve energy, so we're going to put the brakes on. And this freeze state can leave you feeling like you've got no motivation to do anything. It can make you feel lethargic. It can make you just think, I just don't know what I'm doing here. It's the state that can take you into scrolling for hours and hours on your phone and going, oh my gosh, where's that time gone? I could go much deeper into this spectrum, especially obviously the end ranges. But if you are relating to either of these ends of the spectrum, then I want us to reframe rest, because both ends need rest and rewiring, and both ends as well need balance. So firstly, let's talk about this doing nothing. For those of us that struggle to just sit, you might have experienced this, for example, sitting and meditating, or just sitting with yourself. Maybe you've been told, okay, we're going to sit in silence for a bit. And that silence, that quiet, is just unpleasant. You just start to, maybe your heart starts to race or your thoughts start to race and it feels overwhelming. Maybe you've gone to sit in a sauna thinking, oh, I'll relax in this sauna, I'll just relax here. And actually you think, whoa, how are these people sitting still? I know a lot of people that do that on holiday as well, because I can just lie on holiday and I can do pretty much nothing. Don't get me wrong, I love my walking and whatever, but if I go to Greece, I am flat out on that sunbed. Whereas I have a lot of friends who just could not possibly do that. They really struggle with that. But remember, this is a spectrum, so we're all going to experience this in different ways. Because, for example, I might experience it if I am in the house on my own. I always find that, okay, I've got this to do and I want this to do and I will keep going. But I also can just take that time to switch off and calm. But once upon a time, I could not. So we're reframing doing nothing. Number one, as a skill that needs retraining. Like anything, you wouldn't just start climbing. You wouldn't just go to a climbing wall and be like, okay, like I'm just gonna do the hardest one straight away. It's like anything, you have to train yourself bit by bit. So I want you to think about rest. I want you to think about doing nothing as a skill that you have to train yourself in. Number two, we're thinking of this doing nothing as actually creating safety. So rather than going, oh, I'm doing nothing, I've done nothing today, I feel really guilty. No, actually, I put back into myself. I put energy back into myself, and I created safety in my nervous system. Safety that means that I'm okay to let my guard down, that I'm able to listen to people without thinking, oh, okay, I need to say something back, or my head going off on different tangents. That is what safety is. You know those people where you're like, why are they not listening to me? Why are their eyes going everywhere else? Sometimes I know we can take that personally. And sometimes people aren't listening to you and it's very annoying. But there are those people that really want to listen, but they struggle to because their nervous system is in that hypervigilant state. They are scanning for danger all the time. So being present with someone can actually feel pretty challenging. They might not recognize it as that. They might not even know they're doing it. But I thought it was interesting to share that because I know some of us might relate. So to round up that reframing, I want to just end by saying, also tell yourself that you're not a failure. With clients that I've had who have struggled with breath work, with meditation, with that slowing down of the nervous system, that calming effect, another really wonderful thing that you can try is take a breathwork exercise, for example. I'll put a little link to one below that is on my channel, but there's many on my app, and I've got some really short ones as well as some longer ones that you can try. But if you are taking 5, 10, 15 minutes to do a guided breathwork or meditation, for example, if you start to find that panic, use a little affirmation as simple as, I am breathing, I am safe, I am breathing right now. That is all I am doing. I am safe. I am breathing right now. That's all I'm doing. I am safe. These little cues, paired with the breath work or the meditation itself, can actually start to do that little bit of rewiring so that your nervous system understands, oh, it's okay. I can relax a little bit. So this takes me perfectly into, well, what can help with all of this? Well, when we say what can help, we are talking about creating that safety, whatever end of that spectrum you are, whether it's the freeze or whether it's the hypervigilance, or whether you're just somewhere in the middle. Things that create safety are anything that eases you gently into stillness, going out for a walk without technology. And when I say stillness, by the way, I sometimes mean just stillness in the mind rather than stillness fully in the body. Getting out into nature, without phones, without headphones, just listening to sounds, looking at things, the greenery of the trees, the sensation of the feet on the ground, breathing in the fresh air, and other things that ease you gently into stillness. Now, how I discovered this more still way of living, not all the time, we've got to have the ups and the downs, but was yin yoga. So the first time I ever did yin yoga, right? So yin yoga, for those of you that are sort of newer to this, you hold yoga poses for 3 to 5 minutes traditionally, and you're taking poses that are restful, restorative poses, holding them for a long period of time so you get sort of the maximum calming effect, stretch and relaxation of the muscles and connective tissue. But it's also what I like to call a meditative practice. And when I first did it, I just didn't get it. I was like, why am I being still for so long? But it was because I was in that, I can't remember which way I did it with the spectrum now. Whichever one was the hypervigilance, I was in that one. But it didn't take long for things to shift. And what I actually found with yin yoga was that because you are doing a movement at the same time as focusing on your breath and you are being guided, you've got several things to focus on. Sometimes if it's just one, it can feel like just my breathing, that's too little to focus on almost. But when there's a few things, if any of you want to get into meditation, I would always recommend starting with yin yoga. Breath work, guided wind down sessions before bed, anything that just is giving you those cues physically, mentally, emotionally to calm and slow down. But also it's not just about breathwork, meditation, yin. As I mentioned, getting out in nature, but also playfulness. Now this comes from the polyvagal theory. Playfulness. Things that we kind of lose as a child, getting your bare feet in the ground, doing cartwheels and doing things that kind of bring that play. Kind of cool that I mentioned climbing earlier actually, and it's so sad because I used to love climbing, and really sadly when we moved to Faversham, there's only one place in Kent that I can climb, and I've got to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of it, so we've stopped going, which is a real shame. But anyway, things like that you're kind of like working out a puzzle, to do. But anything that brings about playfulness, it could be swimming, it could be, playing games with people. Music is another one. We know that music is so powerful for the nervous system. A music that helps us feel calm or that brings about that state of calm. So it might not be the calmest music in the world to me, but it might be super calming to you because it reminds you of a place or it reminds you of a time where you felt safe, relaxed, and able to be yourself. Other things are social engagement. So spending time with people that make you feel relaxed, make you feel safe, and as I just mentioned, an ability to feel like you can just be you. We honestly can't underestimate how powerful being with people who just allow you to be you is. You might actually be sitting there thinking, yeah, how many of those people do I have in my life? And they're such important people to just make a note of and go, they've never questioned me, they've accepted me, I feel relaxed in their presence. It is such a beautiful thing. And that is very, very important for safety for the nervous system. Final thing that can help, you might have seen a lot on social media recently about hot and cold exposure. Now, Whenever I work with one-to-one clients, we do talk about hot and cold exposure towards the end of my time with people. This is usually between 8 and 12 weeks, depending how long I'm working with them. But hot and cold exposure can have profound effects on the nervous system because it can help you with your resilience. Ultimately, resilience is what we're looking for. This is why when I do breath work, we also train breath holds. We train longer inhales and longer exhales and get the body used to a slight discomfort so that it gets that resilience that it needs. I will go into detail on hot and cold in another video potentially, but if you've got any questions or anything you want to know about it, put it in the comments and I'll make a note for the next video. So I want to end this video by just saying that if you have been beating yourself up about not being able to switch off or to relax, be kind to yourself. It's not just you, it's your nervous system trying to protect you in a certain way. Because of things, external factors, might not even be able to pinpoint as such, but that is okay. Start small with whatever you're going to do. Even a minute or two of just conscious, relaxed breathing, that affirmation that I spoke about, getting out into nature, having a coffee with no phones, headphones, anything at all, with someone that you really care about, feeling listened to, listening to someone. So many things that can help you, and I'm going to put a load of stuff into the description so that you have a few resources to get started. A reminder that my app, the Happy Healthy Club, is a safe space for you. If you want to come and join us, there are all kinds of practices, live classes, on-demand classes, of which there are hundreds. Breath work for just 5 minutes, all the way up to 30 minutes, relaxation practices, yoga, all kinds of things that you can get in there, challenges, courses, and you would be very, very welcome there. All of the details are in the description, and I just hope that you have a lovely week, and I really look forward to chatting to you in the next vlog very soon. Take care of yourself.